Hey, Instagram, how's it going? First of all, can I just say that the filter on this thing is so awesome? It makes me look like I have amazing makeup on, right? And I don't really have anything on, but you can still see some of my blemishes. So, giddy up to Instagram. I don't even know if they have this on Facebook. I normally go live on Facebook more. But I'm home now and I have, hey Alex, what's up? I don't normally see you on Facebook anymore. So I'm home and I'm in my PJs and I just wanted to have a chat to you guys because I felt like when I was doing that pose, it wasn't it wasn't enough, right? It wasn't as impactful as I thought when I jump on the live and kind of have a chat to you guys. And today I had so I woke up really late today, and thank you. And I was speaking to my mentor last night. From he's in the US, and it was like we chatted, I think, really late until like 3 a.m. in the morning. And he was actually telling me that because I talk a lot about raising consciousness, and I talk about like human consciousness. So the more conscious we are in what we do, the better our lives are. And that's why I'm very passionate about it, because I am a living example. My mentor is a living example. And I do believe that if when I went to that TED talk yesterday as well, if everybody is very on board with this whole consciousness, because they know that the next thing's going to happen is the mental health. So everybody's going out there getting coaches, having to make money and all these external stuff, but they never invest into their spirit, right? So what I do is spirit work. And what I do is, before I used to be very like afraid of, I used to be really afraid of, telling people that, I work with spirit, like my spirit and your spirit. So I connect on that level. And what I do is connection. And that comes from my worth, my self-worth, because I looked around and everyone that I knew from my old past, which is my old self, which is who I used to hang around with, they're all just about making money, like yourself in real estate. I have so many real estate friends. Everyone's just making tons of money. And anyway, so then I'm like, well, I can't offer that. But what I can offer is I have my wisdoms and I have all of these things. So when I was really starting to step into my power, and I mean, I was coaching a few clients before, but I felt like, I always belong on the stage, right? But I know that that's going to happen like one day, right? Alex, did you see, oh, thank you, Alex. Did you see my video, my Facebook Live when I pitched for TED Talk last night and I didn't make it? Let me know, because that was a ton of value in there too if you haven't seen it. So I just wanted to really go back to it, and really this time really wanted to hone in that if you guys want help on what it is that you work on, because how you gain happiness is actually from the inside, and that is your spirit. How do you make your spirit happy, right? Because that's why you're sad, because you are a spirit with a body, not a body with a spirit, right? And so I invested in mentors and in coaches in the past. And the funny thing is, when I used to invest in a coach that I thought I was going to make money, but ended up was through that route, which I've invested almost $100,000 to lead to the mentors that now charging me nothing, right? But then you can't say that, oh, because now I don't really pay for him, but yeah, go watch it. It's really good. But how I got to him was through a ton of money. Does that make sense? And and on the ongoing basis, I send gifts, and I send all and we keep the connection. So I just wanted to really letting you guys know that it is your job and your duty to make you happy, all right? And if you are using any excuse to put your life on hold, that is on your terms as well, right? So when I started on this journey of mine, when I thought I needed to make more money to make me happy, right? Because that's like the belief I used to have before. I went out, and obviously, like for my post recently, I don't know if you noticed, but the universe seems to be holding this carrot in front of your face, right? Going, hey, come get this. Right? You want money? Come get this. You need more skill? Come get this. So it was leading me through that, because I knew that was all I know, right? So that was all. I was living in this bubble, this tunnel. So to get me out of that tunnel, spirit, or my higher self, which is the one with the higher vision, higher consciousness, was like, hey, you want to make more money? So that it was leading me through Ray Higdon, through network marketing. And that's through that I was my mind had to be open first, right? But back then my mind was not open. I was so closed off to the world. I was so scared of people scamming me. I was so scared of people taking advantage of me. My heart and my mind was literally closed because of all the trauma that I was growing up with, right? And that's why, now that all of my wisdoms come from, I'm very proud because I didn't come here by going through nothing, right? So all of my wisdom, because I've actually turned all my wounds into wisdoms, okay? Because I'm so grateful that I was brought into the earth school a lot earlier than other people. Does that make sense? And I've actually met and got mentored and coached on people that actually went through a whole ton of other stuff at a young age, then they were forced to be awakened, right? Which means awakened to their whole potential and getting these illusions of pains and all the trauma that was outside of them falling off so that they know who they really are. So I was talking to him and he was like, hey, I this was just my observation, I'm really giving you like my coaching call. And he's like, I noticed you say a lot of F words and S, a lot in that video because he watched it. And he's like, that words are vibration, right? I'm like, yeah, it is. So just my observation that, we have to be very careful what we say. And it doesn't matter how you say words are vibration. So if you say too much F words and F and this, F and that, you are literally like lowering your vibration down, right? Because you can't what did he say? He said you can't praise Hitler enough or something, like, because Hitler is who Hitler is, so you can't say in like a higher tone pitch or whatever, because he vibrate at such a low energy, because he vibrate in the fear energy, right? So the reason, like, there's no better or worse, it's just we, in the terms of earth school that I'm showing you right now, is we look at as frequency. So fear is right at the bottom and love is all the way up there, and the higher you vibrate, which is on the love consciousness, you will attract all the abundance, because that's who you are, right? But what happens is that we got into this earth and we forgot who we were, and we had to learn all over again. And the whole process and the whole purpose that we think on being on earth is that we have to, the more we remember who we are and who we potential, like what our potentials are, that's how we're able to get out of our human problems, right? So a lot of our human problems can be solved with spiritual solutions, because we are spirit, right? So it was like, because Hitler vibrate at a very low frequency, and Dalai Lama or Buddha and Christ or Krishna, whatever, vibrate on the low frequency, because they're enlightened, right? So we have the same capacity to tap into both as well. And if you haven't read this book called Conversations with God, I highly suggest that you get it and read it, right? Because it will blow your mind, because it will bust all that old belief system of yours, and you go, wow, and you start to question everything. And once you start to question everything, you will then realize that everything was fed to you was just an agreement. Does that make sense? So for example, who said this is paper? Only English people, English speaking people say this is paper. Vietnamese, we don't call paper. We don't identify this. We don't agree this is called paper. We call this giấy, right? So does that make sense? So what happens is that, so then we use translation to bridge to understand what we're talking about. The same as time as well, right? So time doesn't really exist, but we need some kind of form to go, okay, I need you to meet you at this time. If we don't have time, then we can't say, I need you to meet me at 2 p.m. No one would know what that looks like. So back in the old days, back like before we even know what the 24 hours are, in Asian country, we use a different type of thing to call time. So now we use it in, call it what? In Vietnamese, called giấy. So we used to say, like one trip around the sun is called a year, right? And then we start breaking it down, all these things. So when you start to understand all these things, and you understand to more of that. You already have these wisdoms within you guys, within us, within you guys, within myself as well. But until we are able to, like cracked open to allow, like we surrender, that we no longer, trying to control things because we're too busy, trying to control, because when we're trying to control things, which means that we think we don't have power, right? But when we totally surrender, that means we have absolute power. So imagine if you are the only creator and there's nothing else in this world. You are the, you are the one creating everything. So why would you want to control anything, right? Because you are you make everything. I'm going to turn this thing back because I don't normally use filters. I'm not a big fan of filters. I just like, I quite like myself. I love myself enough to see myself as it is. I just wanted to test out all these funky filters that we have. And what was I again? Yeah, so then you don't need to control anything. So you only exert control when you think that you are powerless. Okay, so I was on the phone with him and then he was talking to me. He goes, Maggie, you got to slow down. And I'm like, slow down? I don't do anything. I'm like, I'm so free. Like, and he's like, you gotta slow down. And we're just going through this whole thing, and then I was trying to fight him that I wasn't doing much and everything, but all he was trying to say was that I have to really observe and be with me and stop rushing around. And because it's like, oh, so you were on TEDx this month, and like to everyone else that would have been their highlight of the year, but to you it's like the highlight of the month. And I'm like, and even though he was joking, but it was so true, because last month I was doing something else that was big, and I'm not able to disclose it yet. And then the month before was in June. That's when I did the meditation for 10 days, right? And I was like, oh, you are so right. And then I was like, okay. And he's like, if you try to meditate, like, because I was like, how do you stay still for 2 hours? Because that's when all the, the wisdoms and everything come through. And because the thing is that we lack clarity. That's why we can't move forward. That's why we're stuck in fear, because we're like, which way do we go? Like, how do I solve this? How do I solve that? Right? So until we are comfortable and we understand, we just be as who we are, and we have enough wisdoms, we have all the answers within us, we're not able to go and move forward, because we were still using the same mind that caused us the problem, and we're trying to get it to solve the solution. It's not going to be like that. It's not going to come up with the same thing. That's why a lot of time when you just, the solution come up to you when you're in the shower or when you're driving, because that time you're not thinking about the problem. Does that make sense? So I would just wanted to invite you to, like take really that time with yourself and like learn to meditate. And it started off very it's a struggle to start off with, but that's what I do. When I was coaching my clients last year, kind of like just stopped there for a little bit, and to tell you that the liberation of just going after whatever it is that I want, and then I don't like it, then I could just move on and do something else. Like I've tried pageantry, I was like, because I just wanted to do it, because I just want to do it, because out of passion. I've done modeling, right? Because I was just like, I just wanted to do it. And I've done all these things. And, I used to perceive it as, oh my God, I'm not going anywhere with it, right? Like what people think, like I'm not making it. And then I thought, yeah, fuck it. Like, I'm like, that's if I think it's a loss, it's still my loss. It's got nothing to do with you. But just to own the whole you, the ones that you're not abandoning. Like in the past, like if you were to fail at something, you get punished, or you get, like for me, it was, I used to, my caregivers would withdraw food from me, right? Or withdraw privileges. So then you get stuck in this thing, oh my God, I need to make it. I need to stick it out. Because otherwise I'm not going to get what I need, right? My needs won't be met externally. But now you are a grown up. Are you acting towards your goal as an adult or a wounded child? Right? Because if you're acting towards your goal as a wounded child, like, oh my goodness, if I can't get my needs met, like constantly in fear, you are never going to create that abundance, right? Because I tell you the secret. Abundance already exists. It's us that creates the limitations that we can't see it. I'm going to repeat that again. Abundance is already exists. That is who you are. But we are the one that create limitations upon our lives that makes us suffer. Like to make us suffer, right? So another analogy would be, it's raining, like the sky is trying to bless your crops, right, with so much rain, because it's like, oh my goodness, I'm in drought. And what you've been doing is you're holding up this umbrella that is like, you're blocking everything out, right? You just fucking cover it, and so that no rain can come through. So you wonder why you're not blessed. So your job here is to find that limitation and to take that down, not to create abundance. Because once you start to unlearn, that's why all my messages has been always unlearn, right? So then you can then tap into your full potential, because when you were born, that is the whole being that you are. But when you're growing up, right, if your parents are not together, and they were divorced like mine, and constantly going, your dad's an idiot, or like your mom is a slut, right? So you are, as a being made from the two images that meant to be your gods, your whole fucking world, and you go, okay, then half of me is an idiot and the other half is a slut. Well, what am I? Like, I am so not worthy of being here, right? So then you go through that and you go, oh my God, you are so wounded from the start because of the things that were projected upon you. And if you're not going to be able to heal that, how are you healing people? Because you're going to go through the same with that projection, with that fear, with that reflection upon yourself, and then you see in other people, right? That's when we judge, because we pick up the stuff that we don't like in the other person, and then we speak it out because we hate that thing, because that's in us and we don't like that part of us. So until we embrace that, you cannot have a connection with another humans, and that's therefore we constantly feel depleted and not connected on a deeper level, because we always crave for that deep connection with another human, right? And until we are embrace all of us and go deep within ourselves, we cannot meet the other person where they are. Because even right now, the last guy I was dating, every time I open up, like being vulnerable, like I feel like I send him away, because so the masculine old template is to be macho and, like no crying, like, emotions are weak, like just go get it, make more money, the ego is in the driver's seat, right? But when I come to him, I bring so much soul. Then he feels at peace. He feels, replenished. He feels balanced, right? Because I come from a different angle, and that's what he was needing. But that's how he just wanted his cup to be just, just enough filled. But I was overflowing with so much soul and depth and heart. He was like, whoa, this is too intense, right? So he backed off. So that's what it means by you have to make you where you are. Otherwise, you can't let another person in if that's not you. So when I used to be a very negative person, someone else positive come to me, I will literally push them away, because I'm like, okay, you're on drugs. Does that make sense? So until we start to understand, and I know this is going to be an ongoing thing, that there's going to be so many more teachers that is going to come out of the woodworks. It's so plenty already on Instagram. That's where I kind of follow them from. They're going to really, they're spiritual teachers, because we have to go back to who we are, the essence of ourselves, so that we can be happy again, right? Stop achieving and be more. And these guidance, and we got to get into the mindset that, we need to be getting help, and because we're worthy of the success that we have, right? So when I used to, invest in tens of thousands in the first year, when I was like literally going, this is, I'm going to do network marketing. This is all I'm going to do. I want to be successful in this, because all that was my ego was like, okay, if I don't succeed, I'm going to look like a total failure, because I invest so much money and I've got nothing to show for it. Because all it is at the end, it was still the same pattern that I was like, I need to do more to show that I'm actually worthy of justifying that I take that money out to invest in myself, because I'm not worthy. Does that make sense? But I had to put my money where my mouth is. Then that's when my words start to rise, because I start to meet all these millionaires and I start to hang out with them. And then they reflect back to me of how unworthy I was. I'm like, oh my goodness, why am I in a top earners club when I'm not even a fucking top earner? I'm just getting started. I shouldn't be here. So all along, I literally feel like walking around like this. Don't look at me. I'm not top earner. I'm just here because I just have to raise my worth, right? I just wanted to know what you guys do. Like, I wanted to know what the difference between you and I are. Literally, that's what I was at. But slowly, then that started to change, you see? And then I start to, because my environment now was different, I start to speak like them, think like them, talk like them. And then I feel like, oh, they don't judge. Isn't that amazing? Because initially when I didn't want to get into that environment, because oh my goodness, they're going to think like I'm nobody. Because that was me judging myself. But they don't judge. So until you go through what you've gone through, you can't hold space for anybody. So these guys understand where they came from, because some of them come from homeless. Some of them have, single moms that, were surviving on like $200 a month, and they were just, trying to like, getting kicked out of the house and stuff like that. So financial, they understood where I came from, because I said, oh, I sold everything, I've got nothing left, blah, blah, whatever. And, I'm now a single mom. Back then I wasn't a single mom, but I was a mom at home and stuff like that. And, so then what it was it was leading to my life path, because I didn't know what my life path was, my purpose was. And now that I know it is, and I'm starting to step into it, and slowly I think it's always going to be evolving. And all I knew was that I needed to get my message out, right? So because that was my aim, then I started to attract stuff like the radio gig, people start to know me, because I start to put myself on like the pageantry and all that stuff, because all that stuff was pushing me, even though I didn't win. But I wasn't meant to be winning in pageantry or modeling. What it was the universe wanted me to sharpen the skill of being in front of people, because that's where I wanted to go. That was my purpose. When I start to remember who I am, right? So before we come into these lives, we have a contract, what it is that we wanted to do. So we attract all these people into our lives, which are all our soul family, when we were, before we come into the physical. Then that's how we're able to, these people, again, if you say nothing is coincidence, you must believe that the people coming to your lives are not a coincidence. So you can't go using that one universal law and go, oh, but this is an exception. No, nothing is a coincidence, okay? So, but it's your job to extract a lesson and learn from it. And the soul doesn't care how long it takes for you to learn of it, because it can take you 17 years or 17 lifetimes to learn self-worth, because that was how long it took me to learn self-worth. Right? Because now I'm tapping a lot into the psychics and, the past lives regression and stuff. It took me 17 fucking lifetime to learn self-worth, right? So the soul is eternal. It doesn't care if you don't learn it this time. The ego knows its time is limited. So it's like, hurry up, timeline's up, because I'm dying, right? Because you're never going to be the same person twice. But the soul is eternal. So you've got all your life, right? Like, it's because once you exist, you're always going to exist. So, it's totally up to you, and that's what we use our free will for. We can use our free will to be bondage, stuck in this story that we have for ourselves that we were, fed with, or we break out of that and go, woo, we are so unlimited. We can create anything we want, right? And in the theme that we chose to come to this earth for. So a lot of these things are very deep, and that's why I want to, I wanted to really pass on what my knowledge is and what, how it's affect my life and my wisdoms. And I can't tell you enough that no facts have actually helped me than anyone else's story. Because the stories that come in that I've been blessed with, those are the ones that actually changed my life. Because because we learn by metaphors, right? Because, oh wow, if she does that, if he does that, oh, I've got this problem here. If I do that, because the subconscious doesn't understand that is that's like another human being talking to you. It just takes everything so personally. So it applies into its own life. And then it starts to change your story. It starts to question, right? So that's the power of having a mentor or a coach. And that's what I've noticed in my own life. And, obviously my clients that I've worked with as well. But yeah, like I really invite you to really look at your life and start asking a different question. And because, we don't have from one perspective, we don't have a lot of time. From another perspective, you have eternal, like eternally, right? So it's up to you what it is that you want to do. But I just think that, it's time to really change. And if you start to engage into these conversation, the new age not really new age, but because of social media, and now that everyone is so more mindful, because they I think we got to the point where how much more stuff is enough, right? So we're not live in a cave anymore. We've got so much shit that we need to like offload, right? Because it's weighing us down, and we really need to go back to our authentic self and create from that space of abundance and joy and connection, not, you know, through greed and expense of another person or our Mother Earth to make money, right? Because a lot of us are waking up that we are part of this massive thing called the universe, not like, oh, man versus nature, or men versus, you know, the animals, or, you know, me versus you. It's us versus the fucking problem. Does that make sense? So if you come from that space, you start to feel joy, because that's who you are, because you're aligned to your true self, right? So that's why whenever you think bad of somebody, you don't feel very good, because that's not who you are. You are love. You are made from love, man. That's why they call fucking make love, and then the baby was a byproduct, right? So you are love. So until you understand, and then just, you know, really peel back all the layers, it's going to be very hard to tap into that happiness that you always want. And it's not outside of you, it's inside of you, right? But again, everything is energy. What energy are you willing to exchange to kind of get it moving? So emotion is just your energy inside that's moving, like in motion. That's why it feels like joy, or that's why we're affected by that. You know, when it's high, we're like, we feel happy, and when it's sad, we feel like very agitated, because it's the energy within you moving around, right? Otherwise, if you just tiptoe around, that's why you feel dead, because nothing's moving. Does that make sense? Because life doesn't just stay the same, you know? It's like high, ebb and flow. That's who you are as well. So that's the nature of the outside, which is also in you as well, and you need to learn to embrace it. And the biggest tool that I can offer you is meditate. Learn to meditate. It's not hard, okay? It takes discipline, right? I'm not gonna lie, but you get addicted, because once you find that inner peace, you will never want it to let it go. You will never want to lose yourself ever again. So I hope that really helped with what I just shared today. And yeah, it's been a crazy last few days, because I felt like as if, you know, all these old emotions just start to come up, and I was like, what the frick is all this? But if you haven't seen it, yeah, if it is, you are love. You are made from love, okay? Because during that time that was happening, that was from love, all right? And even if you go, okay, well, you know, Maggie, you know, people got raped, and, you know, she doesn't really want him. Okay, that is your version of your meaning, or putting that meaning that getting raped, how that happened was bad. But the why behind it is that it wasn't a coincidence. So you were created for a reason by the creator. Does that make sense? So if you saw my post before, was if God was creating all these beautiful mountains and streams and, you know, and everything, and you think it's stunning, and God just think, oh, you know, there must be a purpose, you know, creating, for example, Alex or Maggie. You are fucking special too. You have to recognize that. But your ego won't, you see? Because your ego identifies yourself with the small self. But your larger self is the one that existed before the physical came. Okay? And that's how, when you start to go really deep into the truth, that's when you're able to break it out. God loves us all because you are God. Like, you are the creator. Like, if you are made from, you know, like, if you're made from your say mom and dad, right? So who's your mom and dad from? Your grandmother and grandfather. And who's that from? So you keep tracing up. Does that make sense? So who was the person that's really made all of that ancestor of ours? Right? So we must have that DNA from all the way up there. So that's a creator. So we are the creator. So it's in our DNA. It's us. Does that make sense? That's why I look like the image of my mom and my dad. Right? So if you trace it all up, you are God. Or, you know, like whatever, the creator that was creating us. So until we start to understand that is how powerful we are, we can't really change the problems that it's in our lives, because we're not seeing a bigger picture. You know, that's why we get stuck. So I hope that really helped. Just learn how to meditate. You know, it can start with like 5 minutes, 10 minutes, and then later on you can, you know, go on a bit longer. But if you can really just quiet your mind, and just bring awareness to all parts of your body, that's gonna be the biggest change that I could offer in your life. If you do nothing else at all, that is the greatest tool ever invented, pretty much. So hey, you're just jumping on now. I'm getting off now, so I just finished. So if you want, you can rewatch it again. But thank you so much for being here and joining me. I really appreciate it. Follow me on Facebook, because I do normally go live on there. Today I just wanted to try something different and try out these filters that I see. It's pretty cool. But I love you all. Have an amazing day. You are awesome. You are awesome. Never forget that. Mwah. Bye.